Hi, I'm Desiree. I keep getting asked this question: what was the defining moment in your life that made you want to, that made you who you are, or made you do what you do today? There is no real one defining moment, and it still bothers me that we always try to do this. Perhaps it's a great marketing technique. I don't know. Awesome. But we always try to look at things to simplify them, and life is not that easy. It's complex. Life is a series of defining moments, but it's never one thing that has made you who you are today. Yes, I've talked about The Dance of Anger, that book, but there were other books that led up to that, and then there were more books after that. It's the same thing with in research. We're always trying to look for one answer. What made this happen? There is no real cause and effect for most things. It's always a bunch of stuff that is compiled to make it happen, like depression or anxiety, personality disorders. Sure, we could have one, maybe it could be genetic, and it is genetic, and it did happen to be that way, so we know. But for the majority of stuff, it's not that simple. And the reason I want to say that is like for my coaching, I talked about it yesterday, and I got into coaching because I wanted to be a better mom. That was the first ultimate reason that I got into coaching. But as for my business in general, it was greater than that. It was even bigger than that, right? And I wanted to say where I come, what's my foundation when I coach? Who am I when I coach? Where do I come from? And the biggest thing that I want to say is that I know that there is, that we belong to something greater. We're not just here in this physical world to do what we need to do. There's a grander scheme. There's something greater out there. And I knew this ever since I was a child because I've had so many different experiences over the course of my life. And I wanted just to mention 3. So this video might not be as short and sweet as the other ones. But when I was a child growing up, I knew that there was this bigger presence around me. Nobody told me that there was this presence around me. Nobody ever talked about it. And when I ever talked about it, I was told I was crazy. I've always been told that I've got shit in my head. Don't talk like that. But I knew, I felt it. There was just there was this bigger thing around me. And you could feel its presence around me. It was like somebody embracing you, somebody loving you, somebody hugging you. But it was bigger. And it wasn't separate from me. It was me, but it was bigger than me. I remember sitting in the backyard, and we had this amazing, huge garden Mom tended to, and we had a little bridge that we had to cross over a creek to get into this amazing flat field that had tall grasses, looked like a wheat field, right? And I remember I'd always go to that field and be mesmerized by it and watch the winds take the tops of the grasses and move them chaotically, but yet with rhythm, with pattern. And it mesmerized me. And whenever I was with nature, I knew that there was something bigger and grander than that. If you want to chalk it up, let's look at it critically. Was it the abuse? Was it the trauma that I was experiencing? Sure, maybe it could have been. Maybe it was a way to dissociate. I don't know. I've dissociated several times through therapy, so I know I dissociated or can dissociate when when I have to deal with a lot of real like hard shit from the past. Was it? I don't know. If you could chalk it up to that, sure, but I really don't feel it was. The second time was when I was in, not the second, but this was one of them. I've had several, like I said. But when I was in the alcoholic abusive relationship, and I was at my wit's end, and I was full of anxiety, and I just ended up throwing a Pyrex dish towards my husband's head at the time. He ducked, missed him. I was showered with a presence of light, grace, majesty, whatever you want to call it, but I was showered with something. And I was there. Was it dissociation? I don't know. Was I in shock? I don't know, right? Like, you could define it the way you want to. But there was me talking to me. It was like me separated over top, looking down at what was happening. And in that moment, the voice said, it's not about him. And I knew it was meaning that it's not about them anymore, the men that I'm with. It's about you, or me, which is me. I knew in that moment, instantaneously, what I needed to do, right? I was doing the work. I was doing a ton of work, and I'm sure it's taken all those steps, and all those steps that I've done has led me to where I needed to go. But I needed to do the deep shit, and I needed to hire a therapist. I needed to do the really deep, dark work. And that's what actually defined me later and allowed me to let go of a lot of things, and to be able to critically analyze through the stuff that I went through, that it wasn't my fault, and so on and so forth. The third moment was, okay, so I had these defining moments, right? So your life, we always think that, oh, we have these defining moments and all of a sudden life is just going to go now up the hill, right? It doesn't work that way. So you have defining moments, and then shit happens. Shit hits the fan. Life happens, right? So you go up and down. You're managing, and then you're going up, and then things are okay, and you go up. But it's still going on an incline most of the time, right? So you're going down and up and down and up, right? So I'm working at things, right? But there's another instance where I just can't deal with it anymore. I just can't. I'm still in the relationship. The drinking is getting worse. 26ers every day. Sleeping until he's like getting into bed when he's at 2, 3 in the morning, and then he's got to work at 5:30. So it's just like the anxiety is there all this time, and I don't remember exactly what happened in that. The time, but I remembered I was walking down the hall to the bedroom, and I just said, I'm leaving. That's it. I knew in that moment that I could will myself to death. I knew it. I stepped out of my body. I was over top of it, and I'm walking down the hall. I sit down in the bed, take the slippers off. I lie down, and I feel my last breath, and I wake up over top of myself. Now I'm looking down at this helpless body. Right? Call it whatever you want, but these are the things that have occurred to me. Now I'm looking at myself, and I just remember just floating over top and seeing this helpless person, or this helpless child, which was me, and saying that I could go, like I could go. I could actually leave if I wanted to. But then it also said, not verbally and talking, it was just, and it was stated in a sense of, with this love and this calm, this amazing majesty and presence that is, you've got to be in it to actually understand it. And, but you were here. You came for a reason. I made the choice to come for a reason. It was I that did that choice. So next thing you know it, okay, it's over. I wake up and I remember saying, oh shit, I'm here, right? And it's like, okay, whatever. So I wake up and then my head's down, get to the edge of the bed, and I walk to the walk-in closet, and it still brings tears. And I go to grab my robe, and I put it on. And in the back, the presence was right here, and it said, just remember me and everything will be okay. And that's when I dropped to my knees. I'm always trying to deny this bigger presence, but it's always there. And that's what's crazy. That's what's absolutely crazy, because that's what makes us strong. That's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us motivated or inspired, whatever word you want to use. Oh my God, we get so caught up in, it's not motivation, it's inspiration. Who gives a shit? Anyways, so I dropped to my knees and I realized, okay, I just have to take it one step at a time. And still, life did not go uphill from that direction. I ended up getting sick. I ended up getting, they labeled it chronic fatigue. They thought it was Lyme disease, couldn't find the ring, whatever. I lost faith again. I got my head stuck in the sand. And then I enrolled in school, and I think I talked about that in another video. But anyways, the reason I wanted to talk about these things is because when I coach from this presence. I set myself before the conversation in this presence, and I speak from this presence, because there is a grander scheme. We have a bigger responsibility in this world to do something for others, to give more than to ourselves, right? I mean, yes, we need to do the healing process, and we need to get over our shit or work through it. Maybe not get over it in the sense that we're going to get over it and we're going to be finished and it's going to be, the book is going to be complete. I don't feel life is that way. It's a series of stuff that keeps going on, and then you just keep working on more stuff, and you just keep working on more stuff, and you just keep growing and getting bigger and bigger. But I truly believe that we're here for a reason. So the purpose of this video was to just state where I'm coming from as a coach and how I coach. And I coach from this presence. You don't have to believe in a grander scheme. You don't have to believe in a bigger presence. It doesn't matter. But I'm just there to, do it that way. This was a t-shirt that I made years ago when I started my business way back when, Desiree Leigh. That was my original logo. And I've since changed it because I didn't want to use spirituality because I called myself a spiritual awareness coach. And I didn't want to use that because people get it all caught up in their heads, and they think, oh my God, it's religion. And oh my God, even spirituality is now almost becoming a religion, because they're thinking, well, you got to do it this way. You should be doing this way. What do you mean? That's not spirituality, right? Spirituality is different to everybody. But what we do know is that there is something bigger in this world than us, and to honor it and to live in it. I've read A Course in Miracles. I've read the Bible. I've read Bhagavad Gita. I've got, I wrote a thesis on the various principles of each of them. And we're all reaching for the same thing. We're all seeking for the same thing. There's nothing different, but we all get caught up in our head that I'm better than you and this and that and so on and so forth. And it's just not that way. So anyways, if you liked what I talked about, click like, click subscribe so you can stay updated. I'm just trying to let you know who I am as a person, as a coach, and I hope to keep inspiring you. Talk to you soon.